Hey you. Yes, what is it? Do you realize it's Thanksgiving, right? OMKGI4 Jahwafi Fuokia Woy 0 QDSQ. Come back, I guess. I will kill you, Turk. I got the turk, now let's have dinner.
Okay.
This is fine. Hey Lucas, can you pull the turkey out of my butt? No problemo. What the fuck? Bye lol. The following message from the YOS Foundation is an anomaly that is kept by the Foundation, and the person needs to be found. YOS 10087. Object Class. Safe. YOS 10087 is putted in a storage room and must be locked at all times. YOS 10087 is a Xbox box which is super tall in height, like 9 meters tall. It has a greenish hue, which is because Xbox is green, and it has a cooler inside. The noise is endless and is cooling down the inside of the box. However, the species that dares to go inside it is screwed. If they get in, they are locked from the outside, but after at least a minute or 56 seconds, they will hear a growling noise. Origin. It has been found in one of the cities by a man. He took it to his house and he randomly took it to his son. 3 minutes later the boy feels his stomach hurting, wanting to poop, but he realized that the house doesn't have a toilet, so he instead pooped in the box. The kid left his room to go on a vacation. 3 minutes while the turd is in the box, the turd freezes and decomposes completely, causing the cooler to be colder, so the boy was the one responsible for making the victims die. The boy was named Richard. Now how did the creature YOS 10087-1 appear? Well, the boy became hostile and kills a species bringing it to the box. The boy ran away from the country to avoid the cops. So that's why it became dangerous to the civilians. YOS 10087-1 wasn't found inside the box. Instead, he forms outside of the box and shakes the box, killing the species instantly. However, if the person inside the box with the person watching the box, it does not form outside of it. The instance only forms when no one's there. If the person is faster enough, they will capture it, putting it in a separate cell. It was originally going to be classified as Keter, but the box wasn't even dangerous enough to be that. It is classified as safe instead. The boy was never found, might be in an unknown location. Stay safe out there and we will gather more information of YOS 10087 until further notice. Yoink, obtain, secure. YOS 5240, Object Class, Euclid, Containment Procedures. YOS 5240 is kept in a room with a chair and a television where YOS 5240 is kept at. The anomalous abilities of YOS 5240 causes someone to commit suicide at this point. Description. YOS 5240 appears to be a run-seen Mickey Mouse cartoon from the 1930s. It shows Mickey walking in a endless town, with a looped animation showing. The music is featuring a eerie piano playing, but eventually switches to static noises. After that, it turns silent. After the static stops, the background turns black for a few minutes. When the black screen disappears, Mickey appeared walking even further. Eventually screams will be heard from a human male. After the third scream, Mickey will have a grin on his face, meaning he's slowly losing his sanity. Before the screaming stops, Mickey's grin will expand even more, exposing his teeth with a half-angry grin. Strange noises will be heard and Mickey's eyes will become white, which is dead empty. The town will also be decomposing. Now more screams are heard, and it will last for a few minutes before returning again. The town has decaying even more and Mickey's face will begin melting. He will begin running, maybe not used to the screaming. After the screaming stopped, Mickey will fall on the ground and releases the syringe which has an unknown chemical. It turns silent again and the demon will appear by Mickey, staring at someone watching it. It will cause a loud noise, which will cause Mickey to no-clip out of the TV. Instead of being suicidal, he will become homicidal. And YOS 5240-2 will kill someone if he spots someone. But unlike other YOS anomalies, he will not get back to where he came from unless someone manages to kill him. YOS 5240-1 releases YOS 5240-2 if someone dares to watch it. The Foundation is trying to find someone who was responsible for making that episode. No evidence of the person hasn't been found. He was classified as Euclid because YOS 5240 needs more resources, or maybe he wasn't actually able to be contained. The anomaly is sapient. YOS 5240 isn't known that much. YOS 5240 seems strong enough to bust down steel doors. The TV should be unplugged or turned off at all cost. But TV seems to be anomalous as well. It turns on by itself. We'll be right back when we gather more information about YOS 5240 until further notice. Yoink, obtain, secure. Hello and welcome back to the DBJ channel. The reason why he's doing this in Viand is because he don't know what to say lol. Plus, he stutters a lot, making him not know what he's saying. So, I will be telling you all about if Suicide Mouse was an imposter. Yep.
Daniel, did I hear you say the B word?
No. I swear, Damien. I didn't say that inappropriate word. I swear.
Hey, I hear that word. Come here.
No, please. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks to him I have several broken bones. Let's just start without saying anything else inappropriate. If Suicide Mouse was an imposter. The review. 1 of 6. Among Us animation. Our boy Mickey is possessed, probably, so the crewmates have to split up to prevent the kills. 2 of 6. Lucas finished his first task, but he is chased by Mickey, or Suicide Mouse, and chased him down to reactor 1 but loses him. Lucas thought he will go to the room his best friend, Tony, so he sped up, passing by Mickey fast. 3 of 6. Tony and the 2 crewmates destroyed the asteroids when Lucas came to warn them, then the rest of the crew came, until Suicide Mouse came and became even more insane than last time. He summoned his clone, surrounding them. They actually break out and hide for their lives. 4 of 6. Bruh, what? The crew hide from Mickey. 5 of 6. Almost all crewmates are perished except Lucas and Tony, so they will go to the cafeteria to get to the emergency button to vote the mouse out. 6 of 6. It's time to end this. The second movie preview. This is just a preview and the rest of the clips is not out yet. This is only going to appear once and the scenes will be remade. First teaser. There will be teasers for you to see what is putted on the movie. The second teaser will be released soon. This movie will be longer than the first one, so I won't do a video about the movies because the first is shorter. Plus, there will be a remake of the preview released last year, because there is a lot of violence in that preview. But if you don't like curse words, there will a censored version of the first movie soon. That is it for this video, see you next time. Why aren't you wearing green? Why would I want to? I like blue better. Dude. It's against the rules. Have you heard about St. Patrick's Day? Yeah, is that a problem? Yes. You wear green clothes. Bruh, there are other types of green in the world. Even if I stand on grass, will that count? No, you have to wear green in order to not get pinched. No way. I wear blue even if they accept blue. If you keep this attitude up, I will pinch you even harder. Go ahead, pinch me. I dare you to do it. That wasn't pinching. Object classes. All anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena requiring special containment procedures are assigned an object class. An object class is a part of the standard SCP template and serves as a rough indicator for how difficult an object is to contain. In universe, object classes are for the purposes of identifying containment needs, research priority, budgeting, and other considerations. An SCP's object class is determined by a number of factors, but the most important factors are the difficulty and the purpose of its containment. Primary classes. These are the most common object classes used in SCP articles, and make up the bulk of the objects. Safe. Safe class SCPs are anomalies that are easily and safely contained. This is often due to the fact that the Foundation has researched the SCP well enough that containment does not require significant resources, or that the anomalies require a specific and conscious activation or trigger. Classifying an SCP as safe, however, does not mean that handling or activating it does not pose a threat. Euclid. Euclid class SCPs are anomalies that require more resources to contain completely, or where containment isn't always reliable. Usually this is because the SCP is insufficiently understood or inherently unpredictable. Euclid is the object class with the greatest scope, and it's usually a safe bet that an SCP will be this class if it doesn't easily fall into any of the other standard object classes. As a note, any SCP that's autonomous, sentient and or sapient is generally classified as Euclid, due to the inherent unpredictability of an object that can act or think on its own. Keter. Keter class SCPs are anomalies that are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably, with containment procedures often being extensive and complex. The Foundation often can't contain these SCPs well due to not having a solid understanding of the anomaly, or lacking the technology to properly contain or counter it. A Keter SCP does not mean the SCP is dangerous, just that it is simply very difficult or costly to contain. Thormeal. Thormeal class SCPs are anomalies that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other SCPs. Even the mere existence of Thormeal class objects is classified at the highest levels of the Foundation, and their locations, functions, and current status are known to few Foundation personnel outside of the O5 Council. Neutralized. Neutralized SCPs are anomalies that are no longer anomalous, either through having been intentionally or accidentally destroyed, or disabled. Apollyon. Apollyon class SCPs are anomalies that cannot be contained, are expected to breach containment imminently, or some other similar scenario. Such anomalies are usually associated with world-ending threats or a K-class scenario of some kind and require a massive effort from the Foundation to deal with. Archon. Archon class SCPs are anomalies that could theoretically be contained but are best left uncontained for some reason. Archon SCPs may be a part of consensus reality that is difficult to fully contain or may have adverse effects if put into containment. These SCPs are not uncontainable. The defining feature of the class is that the Foundation chooses to not put the anomaly into containment. Non-standard object classes. The following object classes are subclasses that supplement the object's primary, or former, classification. Explained. Explained SCPs are commonly articles about anomalies that are completely and fully understood to the point where their effects are now explainable by mainstream science, or phenomena that have been debunked or falsely mistaken as an anomaly. Esoteric narrative classes. Esoteric object classes, also occasionally referred to as narrative classes, are object classes that do not fall into any of the above sections. They are generally only used once and are created to further the narrative in a particular SCP. It is highly recommended that SCPs use one of the standard object classes listed here. While some authors choose to introduce exceptions to these rules, they are only very rarely done and need to justify their existence and placement. Many site members will downvote for non-standard object classes if used without merit. Decommissioned. Decommissioned SCPs are an object class that was used by senior staff in the past to not only delete unwanted articles but place them in a sort of wall of shame to serve as examples of what not to do. This object class is not used anymore. Decommissioning articles is not done anymore, partly because such heavy-handed edits by SCP staff are no longer allowed and partly because decommissioning ended up backfiring. See the History of the Universe Hub for more historical information about decommissioned SCPs and their usage in the past. What is the locked box test? The locked box test is an informal guideline used to determine an object's most appropriate object class. It goes like this. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and nothing bad will happen, then it's probably safe. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and you're not entirely sure what will happen, then it's probably Euclid. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and it easily escapes, then it's probably Keter. If it is the box, then it's probably Thaumiel. If you can't fit it in a box and it's about to end the world, then it's probably Apollyon. If you could have locked it in a box but chose not to, then it's probably Archon. Note that as a special consideration, something that is autonomous, alive, and/or sapient is almost always at least Euclid class. That is, if you lock a living thing in a box and forget about it, it will eventually suffocate or starve to death, and that's not a good outcome. Something that is intelligent could also end up being smart enough to outwit its containment procedures and/or stop cooperating with the Foundation's attempts to contain it, making it more dangerous than it otherwise might be. Object classes. All anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena requiring special containment procedures are assigned an object class. An object class is a part of the standard YOS template and serves as a rough indicator for how difficult an object is to contain. In Universe, object classes are for the purposes of identifying containment needs, research priority, budgeting, and other considerations. An YOS's object class is determined by a number of factors, but the most important factors are the difficulty and the purpose of its containment. Primary classes. These are the most common object classes used in YOS articles, and make up the bulk of the objects. Safe. Safe class YOSs are anomalies that are easily and safely contained. This is often due to the fact that the Foundation has researched the YOS well enough that containment does not require significant resources or that the anomalies require a specific and conscious activation or trigger. Classifying an YOS as safe, however, does not mean that handling or activating it does not pose a threat. Euclid. Euclid class YOSs are anomalies that require more resources to contain completely or where containment isn't always reliable. Usually this is because the YOS is insufficiently understood or inherently unpredictable. Euclid is the object class with the greatest scope, and it's usually a safe bet that an YOS will be this class if it doesn't easily fall into any of the other standard object classes. As a note, any YOS that's autonomous, sentient and/or sapient is generally classified as Euclid, due to the inherent unpredictability of an object that can act or think on its own. Keter. Keter class YOSs are anomalies that are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably, with containment procedures often being extensive and complex. The Foundation often can't contain these YOSs well due to not having a solid understanding of the anomaly, or lacking the technology to properly contain or counter it. A Keter YOS does not mean the YOS is dangerous, just that it is simply very difficult or costly to contain. Thaumiel. Thaumiel class YOSs are anomalies that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other YOSs. Even the mere existence of Thaumiel class objects is classified at the highest levels of the Foundation, and their locations, functions, and current status are known to few Foundation personnel outside of the O6 Council. Neutralized. Neutralized YOSs are anomalies that are no longer anomalous, either through having been intentionally or accidentally destroyed, or disabled. Apollyon. Apollyon class YOSs are anomalies that cannot be contained, are expected to breach containment imminently, or some other similar scenario. Such anomalies are usually associated with world-ending threats or a K-class scenario of some kind and require a massive effort from the Foundation to deal with. Archon. Archon class YOSs are anomalies that could theoretically be contained but are best left uncontained for some reason. Archon YOSs may be a part of consensus reality that is difficult to fully contain or may have adverse effects if put into containment. These YOSs are not uncontainable. The defining feature of the class is that the Foundation chooses to not put the anomaly into containment. Non-standard object classes. The following object classes are subclasses that supplement the object's primary, or former, classification. Explained. Explained YOSs are commonly articles about anomalies that are completely and fully understood to the point where their effects are now explainable by mainstream science, or phenomena that have been debunked or falsely mistaken as an anomaly. Esoteric narrative classes. Esoteric object classes, also occasionally referred to as narrative classes, are object classes that do not fall into any of the above sections. They are generally only used once and are created to further the narrative in a particular YOS. It is highly recommended that YOSs use one of the standard object classes listed here. While some authors choose to introduce exceptions to these rules, they are only very rarely done and need to justify their existence and placement. Many site members will downvote for non-standard object classes if used without merit. Decommissioned. Decommissioned YOSs are an object class that was used by senior staff in the past to not only delete unwanted articles but place them in a sort of wall of shame to serve as examples of what not to do. This object class is not used anymore. Decommissioning articles is not done anymore, partly because such heavy-handed edits by YOS staff are no longer allowed and partly because decommissioning ended up backfiring. See the History of the Universe Hub for more historical information about decommissioned YOSs and their usage in the past. What is the locked box test? The locked box test is an informal guideline used to determine an object's most appropriate object class. It goes like this. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and nothing bad will happen, then it's probably safe. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and you're not entirely sure what will happen, then it's probably Euclid. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and it easily escapes, then it's probably Keter. If it is the box, then it's probably Thormeal. If you can't fit it in a box and it's about to end the world, then it's probably Apollyon. If you could have locked it in a box but chose not to, then it's probably Archon. YOS 414, Object Class, Keter, Containment Procedures. YOS is kept in a room inside a glass box and must be locked at all times. Description. YOS 414, also known as the spreading flesh, is a large mass of human flesh which is red and white in color. It was also called the living flesh, due to mobility. This flesh spreads very quickly and devours humans and animals, ripping the skin off to expand 414. It is classified as Keter because, like I said, it spreads fast and must be trapped in a 12-foot box and poured into a glass box. Personnel are not to touch YOS 414 at all. This could cause a containment breach. It is impossible to neutralize this anomalous mass of flesh, because it consumes bullets too. We will find a way to terminate this fleshy beast until further notice. Stay safe out there. YOS 2003, Object Class, Euclid. YOS 2003 is secured at Site 43 surrounded by a metal fence. YOS 2003, also known as the Stacked Houses, is a group of 21 houses stacked together. It is an alternate dimension when going inside it. It contains multiple rooms and dangerous entities inside. Known as 2003-2. None of the people were able to find an exit. It is too heavy and too big to be taken to the Foundation, so they decided to secure it and forbid it for anyone else.
Expect with the Foundation personnel.
Item, YOS 951. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 951 is to be kept in a square room surrounded by a keyboard, line lights and a face cam unless for use. Anyone who sees YOS 951 stretch her lips towards must be immediately removed from the chamber. No one is allowed to smooch with YOS 951 by any means. People must be sitting on a chair a mile away from YOS 951. Description. YOS 951 is a computer device, PC, with the face of a human female, with eyes and red lips, doesn't possess a nose and eyebrows. She is capable of stretching her lips to 2 meters, and attempting to kiss the person after interacting. The background behind the face is pink in color. Origin. YOS 951 was found in a store when a man finds it. It was a normal computer device, but the man accidentally activated a unknown application called Kiss Eggs, and the female face appears and immediately kissed the man, eventually killing him with her kiss. She was eventually captured by the Foundation, realizing this application cannot be closed and will permanently be on the screen, and they are forced to stay a mile from her. Incident 951. YOS 951 was originally classified safe, but after she kissed her individual, she broke the windows from her lips and kissed almost all personnel in Site 08. Eventually a professor cut her lips with a saw after encountering a near-death experience from her kiss. She expanded her lips to 100 meters long, but due to the saw, she only expands 2 meters for now. She was reclassified as Euclid because of the incident. She was sent to Site 08, a few miles away from YOS 4560 and AMP, YOS 7190. Item, YOS 872. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 872 is to be kept in a rectangular cell poured on a huge cup and the rest of the liquid in a soap-shaped hole. No one is to interact with YOS 872 by any means, and personnel wanting to get in the liquid is forbidden. Description: YOS 872 is a colorless acidic gallon of water contained in a cup and soap-shaped hole. It boils when attempting to touch and drink YOS 872 and burning off the skin of the victim with acidic effects, most likely hydrochloric acid. It is completely transparent, seeing the bottom of the cup and pool. Origin. Its origin is unknown. All the Foundation found is that a man is suffering from the acid water and instantly gets killed, and the Foundation finally containing YOS 872. Item, YOS 1362. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 1362 is to be kept in a 3-cell chamber and should be locked at all times. The shield structure is to not be removed unless is to be used for something important. The grass expansion is to be slowed down by an indestructible object. Several grass should be cut off if too much grass is formed. Several instances of YOS 1362 A and B should be locked up in 3 cells if hostility takes over them. Description: YOS 1362 is a large layer of grass filled with unknown species, covering up most lakes and plants. The full grass was cut off by the Foundation, which takes up to 3 years to cut off. They also contained most of the unknown instances of YOS 1362. YOS 1362A is a sentient human skull covered in moist, mold and grass. It doesn't move, but it does takes over the minds of living things and forces them to turn into a YOS 1362A by interacting with the grass. YOS 1362B is a humanoid entity covered in grass. It moves around trying to find any living thing to turn them into a YOS 1362B instance. It also hibernates during the night, sometimes during daytime. It shows extreme hostility to any species it interacts with. Origin: a man and his child finds a random huge grassland they never saw. His child was curious of what was over there. Even though the man thinks it is a bad idea, he decided to go to it. They traveled 10 miles away from the sidewalk, eventually finding a strange human covered in grass. They were confused and dared to approach it. The humanoid spotted them and sprinted toward the child's dad, instantly killing him. The son screamed and runs back to the sidewalk, but the humanoid outruns him and kills him. They eventually turned into an instance. The dad turns into a YOS 1362B instance, and the son turns into a YOS 1362A instance. For some reason the mom was missing, maybe joined the same fate with her husband and son. The Foundation takes 3 years to cut off the full layer of grass and contained in Site 10, along with the entities. Contained in Site 10 a few miles away YOS 9100 and YOS 7629. Item, YOS 60728. Object Class, Keter. Containment Procedures. YOS 60728-1 and 2 is to be kept in a square room, and a YOS 60728 forest is to kept secured and forbids people from entering. No one is to travel further in YOS 60728. This will cause a containment breach. Description: YOS 60728 is a endless forest filled with trees, no animals and moldy. YOS 60728-1 instances are severed arms found in the forest. They are human arms, meaning some people attempted to enter the forest and killed, but they never even attempted to enter in the first place. They just randomly appear. YOS 60728-2 unsevered legs and human-like. They drip blood from the cut of the upper arm and leg. Origin: a family called the Grisons entered a twisted forest. The dad called Herman Grisons, the mom called Melinda Grisons, the son called Justin Grisons, and the sister called Lizzie Grisons. They didn't care about it and wants to find a place to have a camping place. Strangely, the son saw a severed arm. He was slightly terrified but ignored it and continues following. They eventually find a place to camp. The dad tells his daughter to find sticks to make a fire. Lizzie finds a couple of sticks and eventually spotting a strange figure and attacks her. The family members heard Lizzie screamed until she dies. The son was shocked and decides to look for her. He saw the same figure Lizzie died to, and screamed until Justin dies. The dad and mom were scared to investigate, eventually spotting the figure. It was a humanoid filled with arms and legs, and Herman and Melinda dies from the humanoid's abilities by exploding their body and head. They were never the same again. Incident 60728. YOS 60728 was once classified as safe, but reclassified as Keter, due to the humanoid's abilities and the arms and legs tearing up the skin of a living being. The arms and legs were sent to Site 29 and the forest secured in Site 20. Item: YOS 5023. Object Class: Keter. Containment Procedures: YOS 5023 is to be kept in a closed cave and must block YOS 5023 at all times. The cave must be closed when entering YOS 5023's cell. Description: YOS 5023 is a flaming tornado about 2 meters wide and red flames surrounding it. It is capable of burning any type of objects and living thing, and pulls up light objects and releases any object if the species is spotting a object coming towards it and immediately dies. Origin: it has a rainy day and it looks like a tornado is forming. The people in a house were chilling and for some reason attempting to kill the people. The tornado purposely smashes a car in another one and absorbs all fire it causes and releases fire every time it moves. It soon dies by water tornado but reforms itself and continues absorbing fire and burns the grounds. Contained in Site 12 by YOS 2109 and YOS 8043. This is the official first DBJ story. It's called The Andersons. Here is the page of it. So let's start reading. The Andersons are a family member of 4 people, and a couple of fake Andersons. They later got contained by the YOS Foundation after a brutal punishment day for Kaylau. Story: Boris and Doris eventually got married in 1997 when they graduated college. In 2001, Rosie was born and was the first child to be born, for some reason. In 2015, Dale was born and for some reason he hates clothes ever since he was born. In 2016, classic Kaylau was born, another twin of Kaylau before he was born, and in 2017, Kaylau was born, and they were just a normal family. However, something was off. The parents became mean because of Dale's mischief permanently triggered their hatred, along with Kaylau. Then Dale injected himself with a strange liquid that will make him fart and poop permanently and also killing people. Kaylau and Dale and possibly classic Kaylau suffered punishment days due to troublemaking and destroy stuff and killed people. And now in 2020, they will suffer a brutal punishment day, when their parents were about to do the last punishment, which is killing them. Kaylau managed to call the YOS Foundation and possibly the police. They made it on time and finally put an end to their parents' life and their sister by terminating them, killing, to finally end their torturement. And then they hide their parents' and sister's body in a grave and the YOS Foundation sended them to the facility. Kayla agreed except Dalao and Classic Kayla refused and attempted to kill them with Dalao pooping at them to death and Classic stabbing them with a knife, but failed and was forced to be contained. Kayla and Dalao were separated from Classic to Site-09, with them being sent to Site-06 before it got destroyed by YOS 414. They were sent to Site-07. The souls of their family members somehow prevented to be sent to hell instead of heaven. They have attempted to slaughter and kill Kayla, sometimes Dalao, and they couldn't find Classic. Despite their efforts, they fail every time with Kayla randomly treating them badly. They were named YOS 9934, YOS 4411, YOS 4589, and YOS 8894. The souls has also the abilities to make them living bodies. Somehow the previous bodies of Rosie acted differently and disagreed to kill Kayla and the others and decides to strip their clothes. Named YOS 7890 and YOS 4400, with 4400 flirting with human males, and 7890 inflates her anus after injecting her anus with another random liquid. She also releases gas from her anus when the anus gets too inflated. They also had the females somehow get them as a teenager. Rosie was 16 years old, so whatever. They abandoned their bosses and went somewhere and was later contained. The end. Here are the object classes. Thanks for watching. I bet you didn't expect this to be here. This is one of the first DBJ creepypastas in the channel. It is about a video that hadn't been uploaded in 2022, with it being in a secret place or deleted. Tail Demon was supposed to be in Season 5 for Sonic Awkward series but instead kept it secret for YouTube. It is considered a lost episode. A lost episode is a episode from a show that was never aired, whether it's a kids show. It contains gore content and violence that is too scary for people to watch and get nightmares from that. Let's begin reading. Sonic the Hedgehog Awkward series, Tailed Demon is a lost episode of STHAS from the series LBS. It was originally going to be episode 4 for season 5. But it got replaced by a new one called Yodel Gets Hypothermia instead. Story. A YouTuber called Damian Bumpus went to YouTube Studio to see how much subscribers he got, and it's close to 4,000. He very excited. He went to the kitchen to get a snack. When he came back to his room where he mostly records there, he went to his phone to see the Photos app, but he saw a video he didn't even record, which is strange because he mostly went somewhere fun without it. It is unknown if someone messed with his phone and record a video. So he decided to watch it. It first started with the Sonic 2 game intro which he used in his episode. When it was about to enter the title of the series, something showed up for a split second. Damian rewind the video and paused it on time. Something was off. The water turned red instead of blue, the island behind the title is destroyed, and the title became broken, mostly blocking the number 2 for reasons. And Sonic, he became butchered and blood running down, and Tails, he was crying because his friend was dead. Damian had a confused reaction to this so he kept playing the video. Something went wrong with the Awkward series, the font changed and blood showed up. Damian had to ignore that and kept going. The episode started off with Tails on his computer making a strange picture. Tails gets off his computer and tells Sonic he's going to invent something in his lab. Sonic agrees and Tails leaves. Tails goes on the sidewalk and walks to his lab. Somehow Tails' bullies showed by his house and went inside. They had a dark plan to do, killing his friends, which is wrong. They first killed Sonic and turns the camera around. Yodel, Cowl, and Billy heard the noises of Sonic screaming, and the bullies spotted them and killed them also. The screen cuts to black and went to Tails returning home. When he opens the door he was quick to notice his friends murdered. Sonic having his right eye taken out, blood everywhere, his right arm cut off and his right knee cut it off with the bones exposed. Yodel having his left leg cut it off, his tongue ripped off, half his nose is sliced off, also leaking blood and leaving his face in a shocked expression. Cowl having his right eye taken out and his right ear ripped off. Billy doesn't contain blood and instead busted with holes open, leaving Tails shocked and him ending up crying instantly. He runs to his room and his sobbing gets louder every second. Damien was nervous of this because he wouldn't have extreme violence in his videos, even though some people dies in some video with less violence. He decides to watch until the end. The screen cuts to black with a title called 2 Weeks Later. Tails was going to go to bed. For some reason he is crying blood and something has changed to him. His fur has changed to a slightly dark shade, along with his eyes, also possessing extra tails. When he went to sleep, he had a dream in some dark void, and he also heard a strange voice that wasn't Damien's voice. The speech transforms him instantly, his skin getting more darker, and his eyes turning darker, and also gaining extra tails. The dream ended, although the dream was just a nightmare, thinking it happened in real life too, but it actually happened to Tails. He now has a dark shade of red, his eyes black with red pupils, similar to his Eggs form and Sonic EXE, and now possessing 8 tails. He knows what the strange voice said. It said to kill his bullies back, so he flies there as fast as possible. The bullies were having a sleepover until Tails busted in, leaving them in a shock at what Tails looked like. He was crying blood and he said, "You killed my friends, so I will avenge them to kill you back." The bullies tried to apologize to him, saying, "Tails, I'm sorry for killing your friends. I didn't know you were this angry." But Tails had none of it and killed them anyways, showing their corpses. Tails walks back to his house and uses his demonic abilities to make his dead friends come to life as reanimated corpses. Then Tails stares at the camera and the screen cuts to black. For 3 seconds it shows Tails' demonic look, showing the text, "You are the bully." Damien was completely terrified of this. Then the episode ended with a normal Sonic game to intro and title screen. Awkward series. Damien was completely frightened about this. He decided not to upload it to YouTube and instead sending it to his computer and leaving it in a secret folder. Then he deleted it in his phone. When he finished, he heard the voice of Tails from nowhere. He snaps out of it and goes to sleep. When he was going to use the bathroom at 3 AM, he spotted a red glow from the window. He looks out and he spots Tails in his demonic form. He soon passes out. When he woke up, he decided to replace the episode with a video where Yordle gets hypothermia. The end. Thanks for watching.